I don't know if it's just me, but I think I'm a lot more excited for this Washington Wizards season than I have been in really years. And we're going to gauge the temperature of a lot of you fans out there. How excited are fans for the upcoming Washington Wizards season? It might be more than you think.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you're locked on to the Washington Wizards. We are part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. If you aren't an everydayer already, come on, join the DC family, subscribe. It's free and it helps the channel grow every single day as we get closer to the Washington Wizards season starting. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ben Strover. I cover all things DC sports for 1067 The Fan and the Team 980. You can check me out on my socials at Strover Sports. And as always, alongside Abdullah Ayubi, the DC sports content creating savant, the host of the DMV Sports Zone page. AB, how's it going?
Great, man. Week 3 NFL coming up. It's going by so fast, but it also means the NBA season is right around the corner.
Yeah, so this is just side note for me personally. Trey Johnson's dad liked my tweet yesterday. I was going into why I think his son, Trey Johnson, is going to win the NBA Rookie of the Year award. He responded to my tweet after he liked it. He said, "I like how you think, Ben." So we got the stamp of approval from Trey's dad. So maybe he'll help us get Trey on the show one day.
Maybe we can get him on the show as well.
Yeah, maybe we could get his dad on here at some point, and he could help gas up his son even more than we have. And Trey Johnson is a big reason why me as a fan covering this team for the first time. Maybe that's part of the bias why I'm even more excited than I have been in years past. But you and I were talking a little bit before the show even started. How excited are the both of us for this season, and how long has it been since we felt this excited about a Wizards season upcoming, even though we both know they're not going to win a lot of games? I don't think I've really felt this way about a season in terms of it just being super anxious for it to start in a way, because I just need to see all of the things I've been talking about all summer happen. But I'm excited to see a lot of the things that we've been talking about on the program all summer long. I don't think I've been this excited for the opener of a Wizards season since maybe 2021. And I know that was the year where they started 10-3, which is something none of us expected at the time. You had MVP chance for Montrezl Harrell. That was the beginning of Spencer Dinwiddie and Kyle Kuzma. A really, really weird time to be a Wizards fan, because that whole thing was short-lived. Kuzma and Dinwiddie became a super funny internet beef that I think still continues to this day in some realm. And now as a Wizards fan, you're probably just like, I don't care about either of those dudes at all. Like, it's just kind of irrelevant to me. But that was a fun start to the year, and I remember being relatively excited. After that is when I really started to lose, not interest, but just have less hope for what Washington was going to do. I knew they'd be mediocre at best in 2022, and then the full rebuild begins in 2023. Now that we're 2 years fully into this thing, you've got Trey Johnson, the number 6 overall pick. You take a high flyer on a guy in Cam Whitmore in this offseason by trading 2 second-round picks for him. I think there's a decent amount to be excited about, things you can watch for every night this year. AB, when was the last time you were this excited for a Wizards season?
You know, it's funny you brought up 2021, and for a couple of weeks, the Wizards were the first year of the Eastern Conference, which was, to me, was just crazy looking back on it. But I have to go with the year before that when the Wizards traded John Wall. I was heartbroken, but you got a guy in Russell Westbrook who ultimately broke his triple-double record in DC. So a backcourt of those two, of Brad and Russ, was fun. I think that 2021 season, like, I just didn't know much of it, to be honest. Like, there were just guys like Kuzma, Montrezl Harrell, KCP. They were cool, but what are we gonna get out of them, man? I thought maybe like outside of Brad and Russ, this team definitely needed some help, but I think it was pretty exciting. But now with a guy like Trey Johnson, who could definitely be that Bradley Beal caliber player where he can drop 30 points per game somewhat either in his rookie year or in the future, young guys in Keyshawn, Alex Sarr, Bub Carrington, the vets in CJ McCollum, Chris Middleton, you can see that we actually bought into this rebuild. It's not like the previous regimes with the Washington Wizards where GMs would just find a way to cut corners or, oh, maybe we shouldn't go all in now. No, this team went all in, and that's what we love to see. And this is going to be that last year where it's like we're justifying losing. After this year, there really isn't any more excuses. There's no top 8 draft pick cloud over us. you have to be able to go out there and compete. And I expect competition this year as well. But going back to what you were saying, I said 2020. That's the last time I've been this excited. And I'm honestly also excited for the stretch of tough games they're playing on early in the season. Dallas, Milwaukee, Boston. I want to see this team get after it, especially since they know they're gonna be the underdog majority of the games.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the things that sticks out to me about this year is when 2023 rolled around and the Wizards ushered in this new era of Washington basketball with a new regime led by Will Dawkins and Michael Winger, and everyone that came into the organization after Tommy Shepard was relieved of his duties following the 2022-23 season. All I could think to myself was, man, thank God they are finally going to attempt to do this thing the right way, do something they should have done years ago, which was tear this entire thing down. Now, with that being said, I was excited from the sense where, yeah, they're finally doing it the way I think they should do it. Most people have said for years they need to do it this way. But at the same time, the first 2 years where you're rebuilding, it's tough to get behind it because the basketball gets downright hard to watch on a lot of nights. You think back to last year where you go on 2 16-game losing streaks, and you just know you're downright going to be bad. You haven't really had enough time to get your guys in the building, and we've seen a lot of turnover from the previous regime into what we have now. You had 3 first-round picks last season that got to play in the rookie year, so there was a little bit of added excitement from that, especially considering you had the number 2 overall pick in the previous draft with Alex Sarr. Now in the 2025 class, even though you don't pick as high as you did because you picked Trey Johnson at 6, but arguably maybe the highest upside player we've drafted in quite some time. He's definitely the player I've been the most excited to see in a rookie season in a really, really long time for this Wizards team. But now that you're 2 years removed from starting the rebuild, you feel like year number 3 is where you start to see some of the pieces come together. You want to see this turn into meaningful basketball, guys developing. You want to see things falling into place the way you expect it to do in a rebuild, because you can only handle being an embarrassment for so long. You have to see things come together. You have to see guys getting better. You have to see the games be more competitive. And I feel like this year is the year where you see that, which is why I am more excited about it than I have been in quite some time. No more mediocrity, because they're going to be worse than mediocrity. I know that. But you're not expected to be even mediocre. You're still expected to be a lottery-bound team, but I feel like they're going to compete at a high level while doing it.
I always talk about the worst position in sports is the middle, mediocrity, because you can't really compete because you're not that good, but you also aren't that good. You're also too good to get a high draft pick. But now the Wizards, and that was the problems with the Wizards for so long that we've been fans, but now we're going all in, let these young guys play. There's not that much pressure on them. If they fail, it's a learning curve, and we can still get that high draft pick. But now it's okay, you lose, but what's the margin of error? How bad do you lose by? We can't see games where we saw last year where you lose by 40, 50 points at home. I get it. There's going to be a majority of games where there's going to be not a lot of Wizards fans or a lot of away fans compared to home fans, and especially since there's going to be a superstar playing that night. But at the end of the day, you want to have Wizards fans believe in this movement and this idea of what Will Dawkins is trying to emulate here in Washington, because it's frustrating, again, Ben, for us fans to see our beloved, used to be called Verizon Center, Capital One Arena, be just taken over by. I mean, we know we're Washington Commanders fans for so long, even till today. There's away team fans just taking over, and you can't really blame them because the product on the court or on the field or wherever is just not that good. But I'm hoping when this team starts winning and we're buying into what they're trying to do, that'll flip it.
No more MVP chants for Bronny James, please. That's all I can really ask. That's all I can really ask to see at this point. What am I going to watch for this year? Well, there's a lot. But for you Wizards fans out there, there's a ton you can look out for, and we're going to tell you some of the things that we are looking out for in the 2025 season. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth. Whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments, and we don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes and see clear data visuals and get smart categorization of your spending. And finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a single spreadsheet. One thing that surprised me about Monarch is that I was able to identify that I wasn't saving as much money as I thought. Monarch helped me notice an inefficient amount of investment allocation and discover some forgotten 401ks from past jobs. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNBA. Boy, there's a lot to be on the lookout for in 2025 if you're a Washington Wizards fans. Between Trey Johnson, the development of Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George's emergence, do we see Cam Whitmore blossom into a player that finally gets a fair opportunity and shines? Man, the possibilities are really endless, but for me, it all starts with Trey Johnson. And we talked about this yesterday where we coined that we believe he can be the Rookie of the Year in the association this year. And I'm just going to stand by that until I am proven otherwise, because I feel like Trey Johnson is that talented. He comes into the league with a different type of pedigree to him that we are not used to for Wizards draft picks, especially in quite some time. We haven't had a Rookie of the Year since 1968. Wes Unseld won Rookie of the Year and MVP. Now, Trey Johnson is not going to win the NBA MVP this year. This is a much different era of basketball.
But I wouldn't mind if he did, Ben.
Wouldn't mind if he did, but how could the Wizards ever win enough games next year for Trey Johnson to be in the MVP conversation? That's something maybe we can have down the road. Hopefully in a couple of years we'll have a Trey Johnson MVP season type of video that we can make. Bottom line, Trey Johnson is the guy that you need to build this franchise around. If you feel like you've got a guy in Trey Johnson. Now, I know next year's draft is going to be insanely stacked. You might get a guy like Darren Peterson or one of the Boozer twins, whoever you feel like is going to help this team long term. I feel like Trey Johnson can be the cornerstone player for this team right now based on what we know about him, his mental fortitude, his love for the game of basketball, the effort he puts in every single day, what he's done his whole life to get to this point. I feel like it's all going to come into fruition because people who put in these types of efforts into things they do in their life, it's just going to overall make everything better in the long run. You know, they always say the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. That's how Trey Johnson is. He takes everything with such a competitive nature to it. Doesn't take anything lightly. He competes during practice. He competes while doing a drill. He competes with himself. And we know for a fact that he's got a chip on his shoulder right now after a plenty of teams passing on him in this draft and falling to number 6 in Washington, which is obviously a gift for us. But I feel like he's got a lot to prove for himself, and he's ultimately going to do that for this Wizards team here in year number 1. He is the reason I am excited for this season, straight up.
I agree with you. He is different from these other previous Wizards first-round picks. He is NBA ready. I love Bilal. Was very raw coming out of the 2023 draft. A big reason why I love Cam Whitmore as well, because I thought he was NBA ready as well. Even before that, Rui, just project. Denny Avdia, project. A lot of projects of these first-round picks. But now you have a guy in Trey Johnson where if you just go on YouTube, he doesn't even have to say anything. You saw what he did on the court. The tape doesn't lie. And I think a guy like that, especially where a Wizards team that desperately needs a scorer, he'll figure it out. And I ultimately can't wait. That's one thing that I'm looking for. Obviously, I think a majority of Wizards fans are going to answer, oh, Trey Johnson's rookie. That's what I'm excited for. But you brought up Cam Whitmore. Can he find himself a home, Ben? Can he figure out a way to find a role here in DC, especially since an opportunity with Bilal Coulibaly potentially missing some time? You go out there, plug and play, and say, hey, I'm an NBA player, and I'm not just a guy that can score in garbage time, and I can also play defense. I can also put more effort out there. Also, Alex Sarr, year 2. A lot of people are doubting this guy, how he performed in the summer league and him not being aggressive enough. And then there's how he performed on the France team, international team. Go out there and prove that you can be that aggressive guy. You got to get at least 8 to 9 to 10 rebounds a game. You're 7'1" for a reason. He needs to be offensively high motor. Defensively, I think he's only going to get better. But you're a guy that this team drafted 2nd overall. I mean, heck, you wanted to be here, Alex Sarr. You could have gone to Atlanta. So those are some things that I'm looking at, but I'm just excited because there's just so many narratives to follow this season. And with all those narratives, I'm hoping there's competitive basketball as well.
Yeah, that's going to be the biggest thing is the way you can compete overall for this team. And just bottom line, another one of the things that I wanted to touch on was how excited I am really to see this team play alongside CJ McCollum. Well, surface level, it doesn't seem like much because CJ McCollum, he's 34 years old. You know he's still got it. He dropped 50 on us last year, so not worried about the production he's going to have, but you're not worried about winning games right now if you're a Wizards fan. You like to win some more, you like to compete in more, and CJ McCollum might help you for that. But this dude is different in the role he's going to partake in here as the mentor. And I know that's been a big thing for this organization to have guys that have been mentors to a lot of these players. But CJ McCollum might end up being one of the best ones they have part of this rebuild. You think about the background he has as a guy that has such a decorated NBA career, not just as a guy that was scoring alongside Damian Lillard for so many years on some really good Portland teams, a leader of the Players Association. This guy just gets it. He understands the situation that he's in right now. And that's a really important part of what you're trying to buy into. You know, Kyle Kuzma was a guy that didn't want to buy into the process the Wizards had in mind, and that's ultimately why he was shown the door pretty quickly and dealt away. And in turn, you actually got Chris Middleton, another guy who I think can mentor pretty well. I don't know if he's as bought into the whole mentorship thing as CJ McCollum is going to be, but still could be a really nice piece to teach the tricks of the trades to guys like Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Will Riley. You have guys in this building that can teach you a lot about the game of basketball, and not just from a physical standpoint, but from a mental standpoint. Because when you're on a team that is constantly losing, that is not going to be good, like the Washington Wizards this upcoming season, you need that veteran present to get and uplift people, get you out of there. You have to find a way to learn how to win, even if you're not actually winning the basketball games. That's such an underrated part that people don't talk about enough with losing teams. If you have a losing culture and you don't bring in guys that know how to win, that's going to make things that much worse, even when they are ready to compete in terms of the talent level you have. I just think about the Washington Nationals this year. They had a lot more talent than they had in previous years. I'm not saying they were talented overall. They still had plenty of holes on that team. But they didn't have enough veterans that were able to get you over the hump because this team was so used to losing. And I don't want this Wizards team to become used to losing all these games. CJ McCollum, a guy, he's been to the conference finals. He's won big playoff series back in Portland. Chris Middleton, he has championship pedigree. He won the NBA finals just over 4 years ago. You need those type of guys in your locker room to teach players how to overcome the situation you're in. That's the most important thing for me.
And I agree with you. I think Kyle Kuzma, like you mentioned, just really wasn't bought in. I think Jordan Poole did a pretty decent job of mentoring the young guards.
He did.
Yeah. And I just feel like once you get those vets and they can pass on that wisdom to those young guys, it's going back to Jonas Valanciunas as well. I thought him and Alex Sarr, that was going to be key too. You get those right vets, and the flip side is they're not going to be here in the future, but you also get the maximum usage of their trade value because Will Dawkins loves that. He loves his draft picks, even if it's second round picks, because ultimately those second round picks could be used for guys like Cam Whitmore in the future. Build up that draft capital, but also making sure that those vets teach these young guys. And once that competitive nature comes in a couple of years from now, that wisdom that they get from the vets will be used by the young guys and hopefully dominating the Eastern Conference.
See, you just get it. That's the most important thing for me, is using the wisdom that you learn. You can learn a lot just from watching those guys play, and those guys talk behind the scenes constantly. That's another thing. You want to see great communication amongst your veteran players and your younger players. So that's what I'm watching for. We've got a lot to look forward to in the 2025 campaign. How are fans feeling about it? Are they excited? Or are they just tired of losing all the time? We're going to tell you the answer to that question next on Locked On Wizards. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had an urgent need, maybe for a plumber or a service provider. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Definitely not. You moved on. That's why you need OpenPhone. OpenPhone is the #1 business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or computer. OpenPhone lets me manage business calls and texts from a singular app. That shared inbox feature is a game changer. Your team can jump into any conversation instantly without missing a beat, and their AI agent handles after-hours calls, answers common questions, and captures leads so you never miss a customer. OpenPhone is offering my listeners 20% off for the first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That's OPENPHONE.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have any existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. All right, let's gauge the temperature of the fan base. I put a poll out on the Twitter at Locked On Wizards if you're not following already for the content that we put out there. Trying to just really figure out what the excitement level is for Wizards fans. Are we more excited than these guys are because maybe, you and I, our first really full season covering the team, will be out there, boots on the ground, talking to a lot of these players, talking to coaches, and really getting a feel for what's happening with the organization. If you're just a casual fan or even a diehard fan, are you just sick and tired of losing? I don't know. AB, just think about the position you would be in. So I'm going to ask you to maybe close your eyes and imagine yourself as just the diehard fan you are without the position that you have right now hosting this podcast. Do you feel like heading into year number 3 of this rebuild, you'd be so sick of losing at this point?
Yeah, no, I think now I'm thinking about it. I just Trey Trey Johnson does give us that light that if I especially wasn't covering this team, that's one thing that I would definitely look forward to watching, because being a Wizards fan, it's hard watching them play, but let alone being a diehard fan, you want to watch all 82 games, quarter 1 through quarter 4, or 48 minutes. I think that's one thing that obviously a lot of Wizards fans are looking forward to, but I just that first couple of games, that stretch, it's gonna be rough, man. Like they could ultimately maybe win at best 2 to 3, maybe even one game, and we're hoping that they win their first in-season tournament. They break that losing streak game, not the tournament, win a game in the tournament. But I think those are the things that I'm looking for if I wasn't covering this team, and just going back to that C word, Ben, competitive. I want to see this team be in games up until late in the fourth quarter where ultimately the other team just is way better and way more talented. I don't want to see the game be over by the end of the first quarter where this team's down by 20 to 30 points. It's just we can't see that again, because at what point do we say, like, we keep saying be patient, but if that keeps happening, then what are we putting out there,
Yeah, no, I feel you don't want to give fans a blind sense of hope and then have it come just hit you right back in the face, which it might to an extent for this year if things do get ugly at some point, but I'm predicting it doesn't get as ugly as previous years. So I put the poll out on my Twitter and I asked for Wizards fans 1 to 10 what the level of excitement was for the season. So I put it as the 3 options for the poll, either 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and then 7 through 10. The overwhelming majority, not really that overwhelming, but the majority of you were in the 1 to 3 range at 43%. 30% of you guys said 4 to 6, and then 27% will fall into maybe the category that Abdullah and I fall into at 7 to 10. I'd say I find myself around a 7 or 8, but then again, I do have a little bit of the bias there because I'm covering the team, and there's a lot more I'm specifically going to look for each and every single night. If you're a more casual fan, maybe you're not even able to watch all 82 games. And, even if you're a diehard fan, you might not be able to watch all 82 games. It's a lot of games to watch in an entire season. But if you're a guy that watches maybe 70 to 80% of the games or something like that, you might not necessarily be able to look out for each and everything every single night that you're watching. You're more just focused on, who's scoring a lot of points, who can play defense for you, and are you winning games. And to those fans, I understand it if you're, tired of losing at this point. And if you feel like the team's going to lose again, then why should you have excitement for this year? But with that being said, I feel like you got to really take things into perspective. Look at everything from a 10,000-mile view at this point. And maybe 10,000 miles seems like a stretch because then it sounds like I'm talking about think good basketball is 5 years away. I don't think good basketball is 5 years away. I think you could be playing solid basketball as early as next year, and then maybe the year after that you really start to think about the team competing and being a playoff team again. So if you're a Wizards fan that's more casual, just stick with it, stay in the fight, as they say right now, and look at the positives that you can find within each and every single night for this team. But if they are an embarrassment, if they are frustrating, if guys aren't developing, it's okay. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay to voice your concern with the way things are going. I think you got to look at it from both perspectives. You can be enthusiastic about where the team is heading, but at the same time, you can still be frustrated. You can be disappointed that they lose a lot of games. I don't think anything's wrong with that.
I think one thing also that is different about this team is that so many guys on this roster have potential to be all-star / high caliber role players in this league, where in the past it was just like you have a guy and his sidekick and then a third option that's somewhat, volatile. At some nights he's on, some nights he's off, and other guys are just a bunch of jags. I mean, we saw it with the roster that was constructed from the previous years, but now it's Keyshawn George could be an all-star. Bub Carrington could take that stride. Alex Sarr, Cam Whitmore, Justin Champagnie can be a really good role player on this team. Tristan Vucevic, a second-round pick that just, again, second-round picks just in our time here just don't produce. They're not even on this team for as long as he's been here as a Wizard. You put all that stuff together, this team genuinely does feel different. Now it's just, hey, we said all we could. We talked all we could. Let's go out there and perform. And I understand we're not going to win that many games this year. I'm hoping we hit the 25 win mark. That would be great. You hit 25 wins and you also keep that top 8 pick. That, for me, is the dream season. And also seeing Trey Johnson win Rookie of the Year. But at the end of the day, just calm down, Wizards fans. One more year of this, and we go into next year hoping that this team can be way more better.
We got it, man. We got it. Like, AB, you hit the nail on the head right there when you put it into that perspective. I know it's not easy for every fan to get that. We don't expect people to agree with everything that we say. We don't expect anybody to agree with anything we say. But let us know if you're a diehard Wizards fan, if you're an everydayer of this channel and you've been with us throughout the summer, throughout the entire offseason, getting ready for Wizards basketball, which is that much sooner. We're getting so close to it. Let us know your excitement level on a scale of 1 to 10 and tell us why you feel the way you do. I feel like brighter things are ahead, and this is going to be a fun year of Wizards basketball. AB, I'm looking forward to it, man. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I agree. It's going to be fun going to Capital One, covering this team. Definitely this young team, a lot of personality is going to come out, but I'm hoping that also some wins come out as well.
Let's do it, man. We want to thank everyone for making Locked On Wizards your first listen today and every single day. Subscribe to the channel and become an everydayer. It's free. It'll help the channel grow and make the best Wizards podcast in town continue to grow even more than it has this past summer. We're going to continue to keep things rocking and rolling here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NBA podcast. Check out those top 100 lists to see who the experts of the Locked On Podcast Network chose for the NBA Top 100. Exciting stuff coming up here on Locked On Wizards tomorrow. We'll have Bryson Aikens who will join the program to talk about Bub Carrington and his development. That'll be tomorrow on Locked On Wizards. For right now, Wizards Nation, for Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober. We're out.